What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with another lucky dip. And this is another one from Chafic's collection. It's a tune from 2001 called Blood Is Pumping, or is it Pumpin with an apostrophe instead of a G? It is in fact Pumpin with an apostrophe instead of a G, and it's by Voodoo and Serano. I don't think I've heard of either artist. I mean, both words are familiar to me. In fact, the main street I lived off of when I was growing up, not my actual street, but the adjacent, like, more major road was Serano. But yes, I don't think I know Voodoo and Serano, but yes, 2001, so a post turn-of-the-millennium track. Either way, let's see what it's all about. This is Blood Is Pumpin' by Voodoo and Serano from 2001. Hard. I may have heard this before. wouldn't have known the name, but I've heard it before. DJ-friendly outro. I love that dreamy, wavy acid line. Number one, as I said, well, let me make sure, number one, that it's not on repeat. It is not. Number two, that is a track I've heard somewhere, and in fact, it also reminds me of another track from around this time, because the track I'm thinking of has that same, I think it's an acid line, but that, like, alarm, very electric, even metallic type of pulse, which then, you know, is more dynamic and rolling at times in this track, though at other times it really is like this steady, every other kick type pulse. But the track I'm thinking of, it's around this time, early 2000s, maybe a little bit later than this, like 04, 05 or something, and it has that same element, but it also features an acid line nearly identical to the Pump Panel's Confusion. And Pump Panel's Confusion is a very famous acid tune, one of the mixes of which was used in that rave scene in the first Blade movie, which is where I think it, you know, became slightly more in the mainstream pop culture, but it was already, you know, very big in the trance and techno world. But yeah, whatever track I'm thinking of, oh, is it like Aquafat? I'm trying to remember the name. I think that's the wrong name, but whatever it is, like, it's basically the Confusion tune, but with a bit more like hard housey percussion and that type of sound there. And so, number one, or immediately when this tune started, I thought of that track. Even so, I think I have heard this particular tune before, which I would categorize, I mean, in parts it's basically acid techno, at other times I'd say it's more like acid trance, or you know, hard trance of a 2000s flavor. I've talked about this before. The hard trance of like the mid 90s is a different sound than the hard trance of the late 90s, which is itself a different sound from the hard trance of the like early to mid 2000s. Again, production techniques and tendencies and trends kept evolving, of course. So again, if you listen to an acid trance tune from 96, it's going to sound different from an acid trance tune post 2000, generally speaking. So yeah, I'd maybe say it's like tech trance or perhaps melodic techno. Maybe tech trance is where I'll put it, because again, those chords have more of melodic sweep. There's even a like more trance-like melody that comes in at some different points, but there are parts of this track which are very much just kind of straight away acid techno. So somewhere in the Venn diagram of those genres, but definitely harder edge, and probably the hardest track of the ones that Chafic has made available for these Lucky Dip journeys that we do every month. So yeah, very much in my wheelhouse, or in, you know, a territory that I was in the early 2000s. Though, as I said, I think I've heard this one before, but if you had said, oh, do you know this, or Blood is Pumping, or Pumpin' by Voodoo and Serano, I'd probably be like, I can't think of that. I don't know that by name. So I probably heard it at a party or on someone's mixtape, but then, you know, just didn't have a track list to get that frame of reference. But definitely a top tune. As I said, very DJ friendly. You could still use it as the final track in a set, because it does have that, you know, final conclusive outro where it's not just a kick and a hat. But you could also do a long double drop out of the track, because again, it sort of breaks down bit by bit, even though it still has signature elements right to the very end, which is the best of both worlds. As a DJ, any tune that you can use as the final track in a set, but also in the middle of a set, meaning it's geared toward both types, which is further to say there's some tracks that, again, they end very minimally, so they wouldn't really work as the last track in a set unless you had like a sample on another record. But basically, if a tune breaks down to the point where it's like just a kick and a hat for the last 64 or something, it's not really a good set ending track, because there's nothing distinct or distinguished about the end of the tune, even though it is appreciated that it's very DJ friendly. But then if you have a track that's like very big and loud and like doesn't have much of a breakdown outro, then it's the kind of tune that really only works, or at least best works, as the final track in a set, and doesn't so much work in the middle of a set. So these are questions that you have to deal with when you are a DJ. But yeah, again, I enjoyed it. It's got acid sounds, a couple different flavors of that even. As I said, I enjoyed that kind of wavy, trippy acid line, which stood out in some of the more stripped down sections. And it's the kind of track that, you know, if I had found this in a record shop 2001, I definitely would have bought it. So bottom line, very much in my territory. Shout out to Chafic for this one. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace. What are you doing, Luca?